Good evening, dear listeners. I am Donald Hoyt, and this is my dear friend. Do you want to say your name?
Nina.
Nina? Okay, or Snina. I like that better. Anyway, this is just going to be a one-off thing. She wants to do this one chapter to work on her projection, and I feel like this would just be good to put online.
Not all vampires suck blood.
Oh, let me turn off the fan. You can tell I didn't really set up my table this time around. You know I like to do the mood lighting and all the rest. Please, proceed.
Satanism represents responsibility to the responsible, instead of concern for psychic vampires. Many people who walk the earth practice the fine art of making others feel responsible and even indebted to them without cause.
My dear friend Silly? Smilly?
Is that,
Snina?
Oh, is that live, Tom?
No, this is a recording.
Oh.
I only have 50 subscribers, so really, who gives a damn? But I just wanted to say that if you, lift up your head and remember to project with your gut. And I mean, you can try to use your masculine voice. Remember, boba, boba.
Okay, many people who walk the earth practice the fine art of making others feel responsible and even indebted to them without cause.
Much better.
Satanism observes these leashes in their true light. Psychic vampires are individuals who drain others of their vital energy. This type of person can be found in all venues of society.
Mm-hmm.
They feel no useful purpose in our lives and are neither love objects nor true friends. Yet we feel responsible to the psychic vampires without knowing why. If you think you may be the victim of such a person, there are a few simple rules which will help you form a decision. Is there a person you often call or visit even though you really don't want to? Because you know you will feel guilty if you don't? Or do you find yourself constantly doing favors for one who doesn't come forward and ask but hint? Often the psychic vampire will use reverse psychology saying, "Oh, I couldn't ask you to do that." And you in turn insist upon doing it.
You're doing a great job, Silly. This is a huge improvement from last time.
Thank you.
Something else. Something that I do is this is a reading with, critical reading. And personally, I disagree with this. I feel like, yeah, there are people that don't offer a lot, but that's not to say that they won't have anything to offer. And those are the people that really need love the most. What do you have to say on the subject? You know there are people that you've had to give up on because they're takers, so... Thine thoughts, madame?
I see that you're trying to look for the good in people, but I actually do believe that some people are actually like this. For example, Greg.
All right. I just prefer to help those people to get over that. Cure the vampire and make people again. But all right.
Alright, the psychic vampires never demand anything of you. That would be far too presumptuous. They simply let their wishes be known in subtle ways which will prevent them from being considered a pest. They wouldn't think of imposing and are always content to willingly accept their lot. Without
Are content to do what?
And are always content to willingly accept their lot.
All right.
Without the slightest complaint or outwardly.
That just means that they're not going to fight about the circumstances that they're in.
Their sins are not of commission, but of omission. It's what they don't say, not what they do say. What makes you feel most account to them? They're too much crafty to make overt demands upon you because they know you would resent it and would have a tangible and legitimate reason for denying them. I thought you would say something.
I was, I'm hanging on this. You've been doing a great job projecting and putting your voice out there. The one thing is, in terms of clarity, I feel like coming down harder at the ends of words. Even if you have to stop at the end to, really put pressure on that last consonant would really help with clarity. But it's just an accent thing, and people can understand what you're saying regardless.
A large percentage of these people have special attributes, which makes it... Alright. A large percentage of these people have special attributes, which make their dependence upon you more visible and much more effective. Many psychic vampires are invalid, nor pretend, or pretend to be, or are mentally or emotionally disturbed.
Poor creatures.
Other feign ignorance or incompetence, so you will, out of pity or more often exasperation, do things for them.
Mm-hmm.
The traditional way to banish a demon or element is to recognize it for what it is and exercise it. Exercise it. Okay. Recognition of these modern day demons and their methods is the only antidote for their devastating hold over you.
I agree entirely.
Most,
Be aware of problems and to solve them.
most people accept these passively vicious individuals at face value only because their insidious maneuvers have never been pointed out to them. They merely accept these poor souls as being less fortunate than themselves,
That's true.
and they feel they must help them however they can. It is this misdirected sense of responsibility or unfounded sense of guilt which nourishes, well, the altruism, if that's how you spell it, upon which this parasite feast. The psychic vampire is allowed to exist because he cleverly chooses conscientious, responsible people for his victims, people with great dedication to their moral obligations. In most cases, we're
Vampirized, yes.
vampirized with groups of people, as well as individuals. Every fundraising organization, be it a charitable foundation, community council, religious or fraternal association, etc., carefully selects a person who is adept at making others feel guilty for his chairman or coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
It is the job of the chairman to intimidate us into opening first our hearts and then our wallets to the recipient of their goodwill. Never mentioning that, in many cases, their time is not unselfishly donated, but that they're drawing fat salary for their noble deeds. Their masters are playing upon the sympathy and consideration of responsible people. How often we see little children who have been sent forth by these self-righteous fagins to painlessly extract donations from the kindly.
Self-righteous who?
Fagins
Oh, that's a word that I need to look up. Please continue.
who can resist the innocent charm of a child.
Mm-hmm.
There are, of course, people who are not happy unless they're given, but many of us do not fit into this category. Unfortunately, we're often put upon to do things we do not genuinely feel we should be required. Oh, wait.
That sounded right.
All right. A conscientious person
Conscientious.
conscientious person finds it very difficult to decide between voluntary and imposed charity. He wants to do what is right and just, and finds it perplexing trying to decide exactly who should help and what degree of aid should rightfully be expected of him.
Everything that you're able to give is what I say. I mean, you need to be aware of people who are trying to take advantage of you, and that comes with practice. There's a difference between enabling somebody and actually helping somebody to overcome that. And yes, it is possible that you're going to be taking advantage of, but to just ignore someone in need instead.
Each person must decide for himself what his obligations are to his respective friends, family, and community. Before donating his time and money to those outside his immediate family and close circle of friends, he must decide what he can afford, without depriving those closest to him. When taking these things into consideration, he must be certain to include himself among those who mean most to him. He must carefully evaluate the validity of the request. He must carefully evaluate the validity of the request and the personality or motives of the person asking it of him.
Mm-hmm.
It is extremely difficult for a person to learn to say no. When all his life he has said yes. But unless he wants to be constantly taken advantage of, he must learn to say no. When
It is
circumstances
hard.
I know. When circumstances justify doing so. If you allow them, psychic vampires will gradually infiltrate your everyday life until you have no privacy left, and your constant field of concern for them will deplete you of all ambition. A psychic vampire will always select a person who is relative content and satisfied with his life, a person who is happily married, pleased with his job, and generally well adjusted to the world around him to feed upon. The very fact that the psychic vampire chooses to victimize a happy person shows that he is lacking all the things his victim has. He will do everything he can to stir up trouble in this harmony between his victim and those people who he holds dear.
Well, then
Wow.
that's different for us. I mean, it's not like we're particularly well adjusted.
Yeah. Therefore, be wary of anyone who seems to have no real friends and no apparent interest in life except you. Wow, this is like, it has me thinking.
Yeah, let's not reveal details about folk online, though.
No, I'm not.
Snina.
He will usually tell you he's very selective in his choices of friends. Oh my god. Or doesn't make friends easily because of his high... Oh my... this is mind-blowing. Doesn't make friends easily because of the high standard he sets for his companions. To acquire and keep friends.
My dear viewers, if only you knew.
Yeah. I know a few people like this. To acquire and keep friends, one must be willing to give of himself. Something of which the psychic vampire is incapable of. Wow. Alright, focus. But he will hasten to add you, fulfill every requirement, and are truly an outstanding exception among men. You are one of the very few worthy of his friendship. Lets you confuse desperate love, which is a very selfish thing, with psychic vampirism. The vast difference between the two must be clarified. The only way to determine if you're being vampirized
That's correct. Vampirized
is to weigh what you give the person compared to what they give you in return. They may at times become annoyed by the obligation put upon you by a loved one, a close one, or even an employer. But before you help then psychic vampires, you must ask yourself, what am I getting in return? If your spouse or lover insists that you call them frequently, but you also require them to account to you for their time spent away from you, you must realize this is a give and take situation. Or if
the parlance of the 1960s.
Or if a friend is in the habit of calling upon you for help and
Inopportune.
How do you know? Opportune moments. But
I could guess, and actually, I'm guilty. I should have let you sound that out.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
I just didn't know that you were gonna... Okay. But you similarly depend upon them to give you immediately needs... But you similarly depend upon them to give your immediate needs priority. Mm-hmm. You must regard it as a fair exchange. If your employer asks you to do a little more than is normally expected of you in your particular position, but will overlook occasional tardiness or will give you time off when you need it, you certainly have no cause for complaint and need not feel he is taking advantage of you. You are, however, being vampirized if you're incessantly called upon or expected to do favors for someone who, when you need a favor, always happens to have other pressing obligations. Many psychic vampires will give you material things for the express purpose of making you feel you owe them something in return, thereby
like
binding
coffee
you to
in the
them.
morning.
Yes. The difference between your giving and theirs is that your return payment must come in a non-material form. They want you to feel obligated to them and would be very disappointed and even resentful if you attempted to repay them with material objects. In essence, you have sold yourself to them. They will constantly remind you of your duty to them by not reminding you. Being purely satanic, the only way to deal with a psychic vampire is to play dumb and act as though they're genuinely altruistic and really expect nothing in return. Teach them a lesson by graciously taking what they give you and thanking them loudly enough for all to hear and walking away. I love this.
Absolutely. It's good to be like alert of the people around you, but come at it from an expectation of altruism and expecting the best of people. And that way, like if you want to repay somebody, do it because you want to repay them. And if somebody just gives you something for free, take it as such. I agree with that 100%.
Me too. In this way, you come out the victor. What can they say? And when you are inevitably expected to repay their generosity, this is the hard part. You say no, but again, graciously. When they feel you falling from their clutches, two things will happen. First, they will act crushed, hoping your old feeling of duty and sympathy will return. And when and if it doesn't, they will show their true colors and will become angry and vindictive. Once you have moved them to the point, you can play the role of the injured party. After all, you have done nothing wrong. You just happen to have had present obligations. When they needed you, since nothing was expected in return for the gifts, there should be no hard feelings. Generally, the psychic vampire will realize his methods have been discovered and will not press the issue. He will continue to waste his time with you. He will not continue to waste his time with you, but will move on to the next unsuspecting victim.
Commas and dashes and periods and all the rest are great times to take breath, but if you can't make it to one of those, it's no big deal. It's just a good habit to take a breath during those times anyway, just to be prepared.
There are times, however, when the psychic vampires would not release his hold so easily and will do everything possible to torment you. They have plenty of time for this because when once rejected, they will neglect all else. What little else they have, that is, to devote their every waking moment to planning the revenge to which they feel they are entitled. For this reason, it is best to avoid relationship with this kind of person in the first place. Their adulation and dependence upon you may at first be very flattering.
Their what upon you in the first place?
Adulation.
Gotcha, thank you.
Their adulation and dependence upon you may at first be very flattering, and their material gift very attractive, but you will eventually find yourself paying for them many times over. Don't waste your time with people who will ultimately destroy you, but concentrate instead on those who will appreciate your responsibility to them, and likewise feel responsible to you. And if you're a psychic vampire, take heed.
Take heed.
Heed. Beware of a Satanist. He's ready and willingly to gleefully drive
the Satanist.
The Satanist. Well, it took you a while to correct me.
I wasn't sure if you were trying to say the savviness, the sassiness. Please, go on.
Satanist.
The sassy, savvy Satanist. Go on.
He's ready and willingly to gleefully, is that right?
Ready and willing to gleefully
drive the proverbial stake? Stake?
Yeah, you drive a stake through a vampire's heart.
Through your heart. Okay, yeah. Indulgent, not compulsion. Well, that's the chapter.
Please don't forget to mark the page.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
80. What? Oh.
I hope you all enjoyed the lovely company of my dear friend Snina.
Yeah.
Snina, what are your thoughts on the chapter?
Don't put me in the spot now.
All right then. Well, I hope you all have a lovely one. I didn't have too much to say about this chapter just because it's more about practical social situation advice. That more or less holds true. I just want to say that to determine whether or not someone's a psychic vampire, you got to put the effort in. You can't just make that assumption. And that when somebody's sick, I feel like the thing to do is to try to help them. Because a big thing of this book is you've got to recognize that there are individuals, but also that we are a collective. Any thoughts on that, Snina?
I just feel like I can relate to some of the stuff that he said. Makes me feel like I sometimes have been that way to other people, and other people have been like that to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to like reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Have self-awareness.
All right,
You
then.
don't do that to others, you know?
Oh, absolutely. When you're imposing, trying to make sure that you repay your debts, just trying to be a good person. And hopefully, if you try to recognize the good in others, they'll try to recognize the good in you. Like some people aren't trying to be psychic vampires on purpose, they're just stuck in a bad mental place.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right, then. Have a lovely evening, all y'all. Want to say goodbye, Snina?
Goodbye.
Want to snee you later?
See you later.